So the last 3 slides that I have, the need for innovation comes very important. I think the biggest fact that we have to admit, the number 3 part, the 5 things that we were looking at, the 5 pillars that we need to focus on, the connectivity. The connectivity is not going to come. Unfortunately, for the next 10, 20 years, the connectivity the way we know it will not be there. That is the truth. So if we accept that, and only will be some local, Nokia has done some solution, what they call village outreach with GSM solution. There are out there solutions, but it is not the connectivity what we are talking about, what we're using on our cell phone. If that is not there, can we do different solution? As John Gage was talking about, the spindle today, this morning, is actually what touches me the same way. What I call is digital islands. So if we cannot have the broadband experience, we can create a broadband experience locally. That is much cheaper, much more sustainable, and the information can be tailored to their culture, to depending on what they have. You could put in a WebMD on there, agriculture information on there, if it's an agricultural culture. And they also can control, there's a good and bad side of it, but they can control the content on there. If it's something that they found that's offensive to them, they don't need to worry about it because they change, as we were talking about. You want to remove the barriers to the entry to each culture. And each one is different than from each other. So how can you do that? One of the ways to do that could be digital islands. The other one will be like having what Amazon has, having all these books. Because the example I always give, my background is physics. I studied physics undergrad and graduate, so math and physics are very dear to me. So in India, there is a mathematician in the early 20th century called Ramanujan. I know I'm butchering that name, but he is one of the most renowned, well-known mathematicians that ever to live. Unfortunately, he lived only to the age 32. However, in his time, he did more than any mathematician did in their full lifespan. And he came from a very, very poor village in south of India, in southern India, that had very little education access to. And the little education that he got, actually he got from one book. He did get some education from learning everything else, but he got one book. This is a cheat book that's called For Mathematicians, which I forgot the name of the book right now, but it's basically for guys who are mathematicians who are either a PhD or undergrad students. They put all the hypotheses of all different theorems that's already out there. Only it will do is just put the hypothesis and just put the answer. There is no information how to solve. By the age of 16, he was able to solve every one of them and prove it to himself how they worked, and not only that, come up with new theorems that the mathematicians in the Western society was not able to solve. One book. So imagine if they had hundreds of books. There's so many geniuses hidden, billions of people in these emerging markets that unfortunately, let alone not for the normal, but these geniuses are gifts to us that we have no access to, and they have not been able to come to full fruition because they didn't have the information. What if this gentleman, instead of having a mathematics book, he had a book on biology or chemistry? God knows what he would have done. These are the things that actually what excites me, because if you look at technology, mesh networks, all these gobbly-googly things that is already out there, lots of, some of them are very complicated, some of them are very simple, which you will talk about. To me, the mesh network is a very good example of creating local broadband that can be done in the right way, if it's done the right way, very cost-effectively, sustainably, and without requiring an outside broadband connection. You may have a small dial-up to at least get your email out or do things like that. I heard last night over a drink, somebody was giving me an example how some people are being very innovative in certain areas in Africa where they will put in taxis or cars that they will collect actually the emails that's being sent out as they're driving through. It will do a connection, load the email. As they drive back to home base, it will upload. So your email is not called, that's an e-postman. So that's actually, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. You send your email, next couple of days, a week, whenever that taxi driver comes by, it will download, upload actually, and then drive back, and then here we go. It will eventually get to where it's supposed to get to, and then same thing, come back down where maybe a week, 2 weeks later, you'll get an answer to your email. Something I would have never thought of it. So I think there are more innovative ways to think about it. That's the whole purpose. I think that bringing the crowds like this together, I think is amazing because technology is there. We just need to find the right implementation to get to them, and I believe the information is key. Healthcare, the tragedies that's being done today, that's today's problem. But the information will solve tomorrow's problem. Because if you don't solve that, the problems of today will keep repeating. We'll have to keep repeating, giving them food over and over and over. We're not solving the original problem. They need to help themselves. As we say, the local heroes needs to get the right tools to do that. To me, information, it starts with information. So with that, my last slide. So the conclusion is, businesses, private business, everybody, whether it's local, Western, whatever it is around the world, they all look at trade. They look at ROI. They look at investment. They look at what kind of money they can make. If the money is not there, what do we need to do so that we can create actually a culture there is a potential for them to make money? Because the businesses themselves will not look at a potential 20, 30 years down the road. They're going to look at now, maybe 5 years, at most 10 years. If the answer is for a 5-year-old kid to be able to generate money when they are 15, that's not fair. So we need to be able to go down 20, 30 years. And that's it for me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.